Two questions, Mr. Krishnan. One is, of course, if you can just give us a quick journey of how how the development of the carrier came about, and number two is also that almost about over 70% of the 70% of the carrier that is being, of course, developed, it's indigenous. So can you give us a little bit of a breakdown of what the remaining about 24 odd percent is, and also is it really possible for us to indigenize those aspects of
So without a doubt, I think this was probably one of the most largest and complex platforms that we have built thus far. Uh, just to give a feel, it's all of 21,000 tons of steel. It's got around 2,400 kilometers of cabling in it. It's got around 140 kilometers of piping. It's got around 11 kilometers of AC ducting. It's say what 22 megawatt into 4 GTs of LM2 2500 from GE. It's got 8 into 3 megawatts, 24 megawatts of power being generated, 2,400 compartments, out of it around 1,900, close to 1,900 odd are habitability compartments, which means all these compartments would need electrification, electricity, furnishing, AC, and all those things. All 1,600 and odd crew and officers staying on board. So all in all, this is broadly what the whole thing was about. I've not got into the the aviation part, that's much more complex. But so when we talk about having achieved 70 odd percentage of indigenous content, I think it speaks volumes for India as a country, because on a first of its kind project of this nature, going to that level of indigenization was really a great achievement. And when I say that, it's got nothing really to do about CSL. We've been actually, lucky. We've been happy to sort of play a lead and what do you say, focal point role in coordinating the whole thing. But actually, when we look at the aircraft carrier, India has moved. Actually, the country has moved as a team. There was tremendous involvement from the DRDO labs, be it NMRL, be it DRDL or NSTL. So if you look at it as a whole, when at the end of the day, when we talk about 76% indigenous content and all, it's actually a country that has stood up and delivered. And on the service side, yes, around 500 and odd indigenous vendors were developed, out of which more than 100 were MSMEs. So again, now coming to the second part of your question, what is left? Actually, if you look at it, it is more like, steel came from India, cables came from India, habitability was all Indian. What really remains is the aviation flight complex. Now, as you all are probably aware, an aircraft carrier gets designed or around the type of aircraft it's going to operate. And when we started off designing this, when I say we, it was the Indian Navy who did the basic design. And I need to make special mention about the unconditional and support and handholding that CSL as a yard has received from the Indian Navy right throughout the project. So when the Indian Navy conceived and did the basic design, this was designed around the operation of MiG aircraft, as we all know. And so the aviation flight complex as a whole has come from the Russians. So if you look at the remaining part of the 76%, it's more or less the majority chunk of it comes from the aviation AFC complex, as we call it. So there could be a little more gap there, which I'm sure we'll be able to address as we go forward. So I think, what this project, just to conclude, what this project probably has done to us, not only as a yard but as a country, is that, if you when you look back, because I've been sort of seeing this for the last decade or so. When you look back and if you look at it, if you just stay away from the technical part and look at it a little philosophically, what we could probably conclude is that it's not always that we lack the capability. and more often than not, it's a slightly lack of self belief that doesn't really allow us to achieve certain things. And this project, I think, is a prime example. And I think successful completion and the proof of the pudding was 28 knots she achieved in the very first sea trial. So I think this project will give a lot of confidence to us as a country in overcoming these fears. Thank you.